fidelity of love, those rights and already for in brotherhood we stand. Not Jesus for our proud to set our suffering motherland. Our flesh shall be a symbol that truth and justice reign in peace, all bow to honor, and this we count as gain. To hang on to our children, our banner without stain. Oh God over creation, grant these our one request. Help us to build a nation where no man is oppressed. And so peace and plenty, Nigeria may be blessed.
Our esteemed sponsor, Mr. Ibrahim, founder of Alabama, who shall go around the city. We did now time out with our business schedule to us we are present. I also want to thank all lawyers present. I don't think you we all know that access to justice is a key discussion in the running the ecosystem. The essence of access to justice is for we to have discussions like this to bridge the access because access to justice has been. So I think and know that this conversation will be helpful and will take the conversation. Thank you very much.
When you went to law school, you must be really smart. The people who don't even know what the inside of a court looks like, the people who are trodden upon by politicians, by policemen, who do not understand that they deserve human rights. Those people are who we're here to talk about today. Not just to talk about, but as every single person leaves this room, they should be able to commit a small portion of their time to paying attention to the people that are in prison, that have not even gone to court or gone to trial, the people that probably have gone through a form of rape, that do not know who to cry out to, or which form of courts or judicial system to reach out to. That is the Nigeria in which we live today. We know cousins, we know brothers, we know aunties who have been cheated, who have been harassed, and who just say, we're in Nigeria, there's nothing we can do about this. And it's not that bad. Other people have had it worse. And it's our job as lawyers not just to carry out deals and to do transactions and to do legal work, but to also look out for people. And to let people know what they deserve and what they're entitled to. So that's the purpose of this panel. And by virtue of the CSR arm for Transadvisory Legal, that's access to justice. So everyone has put this together for us to sit down, to think, to have a bit of empathy, and to have resolve as to how we are going to make a change in our community, one step at a time. Thank you very much.
Let me start by first appreciating the organizers of this event. I don't think that any time could be more appropriate for this kind of discussions than now, because we find ourselves at a precipice where there's so much you and cry about injustice, and even those who are actors in that system have been taking a lot of knock because a lot of people blame us for it. So I'm not surprised that everyone is championing this, and everyone share so many origins together. As you are aware, we are from Lagos University, west of Sahara, north of Limpopo. I know I'm looking for trouble. I know I'm going to get back, and then we are both students of Equitable, so we share a similar origin. And of course, I noticed Aisha here Abubakar. I don't suspect is the popular here Abubakar that we know. So she's also someone that we should contend with. Now, to answer the question, in my own opinion, the barriers we face systemically is, to my mind, absence of involvement of technology. The law, because it's conservative, we have a pushback attitude to technology. We are not too embracing of technology. And if you look around and see what the giant strides that technology has brought about, if we can, if we can incorporate it or inherit it in our justice system, you see that we make very great strides. When we talk of technology, I'm talking about even the locability of courts. We don't have automated systems in court. There are no stenographers, so you see that the judge engages in long handwriting, which can take almost the whole of the day. So only one case, 2 witnesses, my lord will have to sit for 3 hours. By the time he's done with that case, the next case comes, naturally he becomes irritated because he's tired. And then he begins to say, look, Counsel, you're wasting my time. Why are you asking me about this? And then a lot of back and forth, I thought, look, let's adjourn for the next day. But if you had this technology you had them in Go, you had them in the full flow, you will find out that it becomes easier. You don't have to write. Let the stenographer write, let the machine record, and then you go back to your chamber and take your time to listen. Also, the use of things like Zoom. If there could be Zoom trials where you sit down in the comfort of the office, you don't have to all of us converge in courts. You take the long traffic. If you're in a place like Lagos where you have to go as early as 5. Before you get to court, you are tired. Only horn has entered into your brain. When you are going to, you are hearing the horn that was giving you. So it also distracts you. So if we could, very briefly, I appreciate that I must give time to another person. If we could bring to the full glare the use of technology, I think it will go a long way to improving, the fallbacks we have in justice delivery. Thank you.
First, standing on existing protocol, and this is the first time I'm in the presence of so many lawyers. I almost feel like I'm almost becoming a lawyer myself. Again, kudos to my friend, my brother, someone whom I began to share a very close bond with because of our passion for life. And when I say passion for life, I mean passion to aid others who are not as fortunate as we are. Because whether we like to accept it or not, a lot of us who are sitting here today are probably the most fortunate, or amongst the probably 10 or 5% of fortunate people that exist in our nation today. So I always have this motto of once you have the capability, then you have the responsibility. Our responsibility here is to use the gifts that have been given to us, use the opportunities that the Almighty has blessed us with to make life easy for others who are not as opportune. Because every gift you have, every opportunity you have, you'll be questioned about it. You'll be asked as to how you use that for the betterment of mankind, for the betterment of humanity. So for your profession, I must say that you have a strong opportunity here to shape mankind in a way that probably you don't know the might and power of your strength. For you to fight for someone to gain justice who has been oppressed or unjustly treated, it's a great thing. And so I pray to the Almighty to bless you all, to make it easy for you, your affairs, and to also continue to be the guiding light that shapes every decision that you make in life. One of the things that I see, especially in our society, in addition to what the youngest son, and I know he would say that it's not there any longer, but that's who he is to me, and I would hold up to that, is that we don't understand that there are still many people who don't have knowledge of what the legal system in Nigeria is. So it's one thing for you to even say that, oh, you want to take issues to court, It's another thing to actually know that a lot of people are completely oblivious of what the legal system is in our country. Because what happens in Nigeria is people have a notion of, if you know somebody, everything works out for you, right? And so you have no access to legal aid. So this is what a lot of people in our part of the world understand as the legal system in Nigeria. And that's why a lot of times people don't want to go to the courts. They would rather say, oh, this is how God wants it. Let's resolve it amicably between ourselves. Let's go, to the table and discuss. That's it. But if there's knowledge, and when I say knowledge, I don't mean just from what we do in the courts and all of that, an intentional effort to really improve people's understanding of what the legal system is in Nigeria, you would have less cases of oppression, less cases of rape, because this is an issue I've also dealt with, gender-based violence. We actually had a session once where we had to really address this critically, even from the Islamic standpoint, of what the punishments should be, the hudud, and also how do we protect women, because women are the greater victims, even though there are cases where men also could be victims, but the greater victims are women when it comes to issues of rape or gender-based violence. So it's very important that there's a deliberate effort to educate the populace even more, to show them that no, you can actually get justice. You can come from a nothing and become a fighter and have the right access that will enable you to win a case. Because a lot of times, you already feel defeated before you go to the courts. That's why a lot of Nigerians will tell you, Nigeria, in Nigeria, what are you talking about? Someone will just pay something and you're done. Right? So that for me is what I see as an hindrance, as a great hindrance. And until and unless a lot of us probably seated here and many who are not, we get to understand this and we get to stand firm for justice and push this agenda of knowledge, of spreading the real understanding of where we are as a nation and what the legal rights should be. Forget about what a Nigerian in court might do in terms of a lawyer. What is the right thing that needs to be done? How do we protect people to get them to have that right legal access and ensure that the right thing or justice is meted out to whoever is a victim or whoever is a perpetrator of an act. So these are just my few words, and I will now gladly listen to Dr. Gumbor, who, after hearing his profile, like, he should be the one talking and we listen. So thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
I want to make sure everyone is as excited as I am, right, about this topic. Please bear with me. I've heard colleagues and friends say I was probably a philosophy professor or a law professor in my former life, maybe both. So please keep me to time, right, if I'm going over, because this is a topic that I'm incredibly passionate about. I believe you all are also incredibly passionate about this. It's extremely, extremely important what we're doing here today. First, want to give a massive shout out to Real One, right? Real One, Transadvisory Legal, Access to Legal Aid. Thank you so much for putting this together. I know there have been, I anticipate or probably can guess that there are other conversations happening throughout the country, throughout the world about this topic, but one thing is certain, we can't discuss this enough. Right? We can never get to a point where we're like, well, we've talked about this enough, or we've tried to come up with ideas to better our legal system, to better access to justice for all. We can never do it enough. For my lawyers in the room, before that, I feel incredibly honored to be on the same dais as these incredible gentlemen, and as well as you, Aisha. I think one thing we need to look forward to for future events is to diversify the panel a little bit. I want to see more female lawyers and from a female perspective, right, that talk about this very important topic. But for my lawyers in the room, just a quick disclaimer from myself. I'd just like to state before I begin that The thoughts and comments I'll be making here today will be just my personal facts, right, opinions and experiences, and it's in no way reflective of either my employers or any other organization that I work with out there. I need to get that one out of the way first of all. Access to legal aid. I know I'm here certainly to talk about or bring the comparative perspective. But one thing I would absolutely say is that this is not an issue or a concern that is unique to Nigeria alone. Similar to what, Ustaz, I want to make sure I pronounce it Ustaz. Similar to what he stated, I consider myself to be someone who's been extremely blessed and extremely privileged. So I've had the opportunity to traverse several countries and several organizations really in service of this great cause. And I would say this is one issue that we all have in common. Doesn't matter what country it is, everyone is still struggling in this space. But I know our challenges are certainly unique given the kind of organization that we are. A big piece here that has already been spoken to by our youngest son is really the issue of technology. I see that to be a big issue in terms of access to justice. Similar to what my other discussants have already stated, technology is really the only way at this moment that we can work to really bridge the gap between demystifying the law and ensuring that people have access to justice and that people really understand the law. As we all know, I had the opportunity to study in the legal environment here in Nigeria as well. I like to say it's really close and daggers, the way it's set up, right? It's set up in this way that could make someone who isn't familiar with the process a bit more apprehensive. So really my main focus, my main viewpoint on this is how do we demystify the law and legal processes in order to allow people the opportunity to really tap into it and really understand how it works and understand that it is for everyone, not only a select few who are privileged to be able to afford legal representation. I'm sure we'll spend the rest of the day talking about how and peeling back pieces of how we get there. But at the end of the day, that is really my main viewpoint on this, and that's really the main challenge that I see with the law. It's really how do we demystify it, either through education or we can begin to bridge the gap, right, by ensuring that technology, it's 2024, that we ensure that technology is being used in the right way to either educate people and equip people with what they need to be able to afford legal representation. I'll save the rest of my time for perhaps further questions, but I'll be really happy for us to talk through at some point specific initiatives that I've seen other countries, right, and other groups work on, right? I have colleagues, I actually have some incredible Nigerian colleagues doing great work all the way in Canada, trying to use technology, right, to provide legal access to marginalized persons. In the US, I've seen people work to develop apps that allow people to gain access, right, to the legal community a little bit faster. But I'm really curious, I want the focus today to really be about Nigeria, but if there's one massive takeaway from me, it is this. This is not a unique problem to Nigeria in and of itself. So I'm really excited to be here, really excited to hear and learn from the other panelists. Thank you.
Thank you very much, our discussants. Everyone has given us their unique perspective on the problem of access to legal aid. So the one thing that stands out from all three answers is technology. And as my profile said, I have experience in fintech and financial penetration. A lot of Nigerians, it's just now that we even have smartphones. A lot of them use pure water phones as they describe it. Yes, a lot of people do not understand technology. The bulk of the people who need access to legal aid are old, are people whose lands have been stolen, people who have been raped. They're not people who are the typical persona for technological advancement in terms of access to legal aid. So let's assume it's a double-edged sword. You have technology and you also have education, and finding ways to ensure the technology and legal access or aid gets to them.
This is, unfortunately, we have a high level of interest in the country, and that is also to match the population boom that we also have. We have a large population in the country, and you find that it's not just about the education by school. Even the education by knowledge is absent. Most people don't even understand that there's a court system that can take care of your problems. And the reason is not too far-fetched. Again, we start at service in formal speech. It's also because of the loss of confidence. We'll get there, because I know this is a question that comes at that point. So that's why I think I'm going to really spend more time, but we'll get there. But for in terms of exposure, yes, there's a need for more actions to be taken. Things like what is going on here now. We must commend this kind of occasions where we find ourselves as ambassadors with a simple aim of going back to those hinterlands, going back to those who don't have access to educate them that these things do exist. Organizing little forums, excursions, handouts where you discuss with that these things do exist. Even if it is informal, because sometimes you find if you go on social media, you see some things going on, it's a bit funny, but there's knowledge going there. They're dropping a bag of rice, someone will ask questions, people rush and answer, you get it right, you take a bag of rice. Ask them, do you know your rights? Do you know your fundamental human rights? What is the right to life about? You answer right, give them a bag of rice. What's the right to expression about? You answer it right, give them a bag of rice. You know, Nigeria, everything that happens, the solution is what? Rice. Bag of rice. Let's use rice for a positive change now. But there is indeed a need to educate people. And even for us who are quote-unquote educated, most of us are technologically illiterate. We don't know how to operate on this business. You see a judge telling you, look, I don't understand this telegraph English. You are saying, listen, let me be writing my thing. I don't trust this thing. I trust my own handwriting. And also, there's a bigger problem also how viable our technology is. You are doing a Zoom meeting and half of it is spent with network issues. So the person is talking, I don't really communicate properly because we have this glitch. So it is actually all encompassing, but yeah, there's a need for us to look into how to educate ourselves, not just those who are out of school, even those who are in school. We need to learn more about our system, our educational system, and the options available. Because there's many options available. Most people don't even know of ADR. Most people don't know of mediation. Most people don't know that there's even, you can even sort your problem by meeting a lawyer in his office. You don't have to file cases, you don't have to go and file a statement of claim, defense, criminal objections, and then you take the whole 5 years, go to Supreme Court, and come back. You don't need that. I see the society, they were involved in the arbitration only recently. I should tell you, it was seamless. Under 2 months, we finished everything. In 1 day, they opened and closed their case as the defendants. That is rare in our judicial balance. It won't happen. If it's even happening, the other lawyer on the other side will say, "Hi, there's something wrong here. Why are we moving too fast? Why are we moving too fast?" Actually, the next thing you hear, you throw an education at the judge, and you are suspecting your bias because it's moving too fast. So the education is needed, and I think we need to work on it. Take it that way, ambassadors. Let us take back that message to our villages, for those of us who go to the village. Unfortunately, some of us don't even know where our villages are. But I know my village, I go there every weekend. So if I go to the village, I go to that, look, this is what is on ground. There's a gold mine on ground. Come and tap it. On the later one, of course, people like us, when they even see us in the village, you're already a working solution to their problem. They say, come, you're the one that the boss are. Is it true that the labor is going to prison for life? You have to now start breaking it down to them. So that division is necessary, and it's a continuous basis. It's one thing, you have to just keep it up. Thank you.
Okay, so I think that's definitely a point I'm going to stand on as well. Providing access and being able to educate more, providing literacy for people to be able to know, okay, this is what is required, this is how you can, this is what you should know with respect to a certain situation you might be in. And also working with critical stakeholders. When I say critical stakeholders now, I mean, obviously Nigeria, we know we're a very religious nation. Till today, there are people in certain parts of the country who would only go for a specific kind of court ruling or to a specific court to address the issues, whether it is the Sharia court or the customary. So it's important to also focus on educating them that, having that inclusion. That's also very, very rare or very needed, very much needed in our times today. I also want to talk about this aspect of making sure that while you are working with these leaders, religious leaders especially, you should work with those who have some broader understanding of what is required. Because there are cases where, and that's why, from my own background, having interacted with a few, there are some who have this biased notion that if you're going to a court, you have completely disbelieved. Right? And for us as Muslims, that's one of the things that I know we tend to always try to address. If you are going to for example, you're going to a Supreme Court or any other court to seek redress, you need to understand that the court is providing the laws that govern the land. We have our belief system. It doesn't take away our belief. It's that this is a land, this is what the land exists on, this is the constitution of the land. So our belief is not in any way tampered on. You're still going to hold firm to your belief, but the law of the land also still exists, and that is something you should respect. And that is why having proper, there's a course we call Maqasid al-Sharia, right? So Maqasid al-Sharia, this is like the principles of the Sharia, why it exists. And Sharia here, which is again justice, court, law, legal framework, let's just use those words. It's focused on aiding people to not be oppressed and protecting their rights, which are five. There are 5 things that are described as the the 5 sacred things that any institution should protect. And these 5 things, you have life, you have right to religion, you have wealth, you have the lineage, you have the nasr, and the 5th one is honor, right? These are the things that are described as the 5 sacred things. And even in the legal terms, you will also find this existing as well. So we must do our best to work with those religious leaders, especially from the Islamic community, or from the Muslim community, to let them understand this does not mean kufr, doesn't mean disbelief, but it's only working to protect what already exists, and which are these 5 sacred things that naturally should be preserved and protected.
When I think of literacy, legal literacy, and education, I know most likely tempted to think of it from perhaps a formal perspective, right? Education comes in various forms, in various ways. I would say, looking back at some of the practices I've seen in the US, when they try to perhaps instill faith in the legal process, right, and in general citizenry, is these things happen sometimes even from a very early age. You have school children being taken on excursions to the courthouses. You have bar associations that are actually playing a huge role in ensuring that not only students or little children are made to be interested in the law at a very early age. Not everyone ends up being a lawyer, obviously, but what that does is that it begins to inform those children about how the legal systems work and instills a sense of general trust, right, about the legal system. I've been involved in school reading programs, right, daycare reading programs, where they bring people from all perspectives to just come read to children about what they do for work. And you have several lawyers. Interestingly enough, when I lived in a particular city, Kansas City, you had a lot of lawyers who were somehow interested, right, in that kind of work, because you know anything about lawyers and all we want to do is talk about ourselves. So any opportunity and platform that allows us to do that is helpful, but in the long run, it actually helps, again, for children and society to be educated about the law and legal processes, right, in general. When I think of a place like Nigeria, and education. I absolutely agree that some of the challenges that we might face here is really how do we get some of these education programs for the areas that most need it. There might be rural areas. I was reading something the other day when I found that Nigerians, even though about 90% have access to a mobile phone, I think it's really interesting what percentage, right, where actually have access to a smartphone, right? Therefore, if you create things like apps and technology, it might not reach everyone. But I challenge, right, Nigeria as a nation in a sense, is that if we can find ways for, and in no particular shade to any program, but if we can find ways for things like Big Brother to be so popular and rampant in this country, I think we can achieve the same in other areas that we want to, areas like the law. So again, the challenge here, and what I'm looking to learn about, right, is how really we can bring those programs, right, to areas that are most deserving. Nigeria is a unique space. Every community is different. Culturally, we have cultural programs for each subset, right, of our communities. But if we can have a mixed culture with programs like Big Brother, I think it's very possible to be able to deliver these services, deliver these programs to areas that can educate the general population in the same fashion.
The greatest challenge that we have to access to justice, the court delays and the laws. And in doing that, permit me to first quote the dictum of the very popular jurist, Justice Sylvester Omoronu of Supreme Court, now retired. He said in a popular case, Elebanjo and Dawood, I'm sure most of that particular case, lawyers, that the whole essence of administration of justice is to ensure that access to justice is quick and cheap. And therein lies our problem. Because you find that, understandably, Nigerians have lost confidence in the process. It is very windy, it is expensive, it is harrowing. Even when you win, the victory is tiring. And that is the challenge that we have. You find a person who is a tenant, his rent has expired, he runs to his lawyer friend because they've served him 7 days notice to quit, knowing that the next thing to come is owner's intention. So he runs to his lawyer. His lawyer runs to magistrate court and files the case that they didn't do one structural thing, the house is not well laid, blah blah, and he files the case. Now, because the matter is in court and the doctrine of lease spendings exists, the landlord can do nothing until the matter is determined. Check, that matter could take 4 months to determine the magistrate court. The man appeals to the High Court. 2 years, he appeals to the Court of Appeal. Another 2 years, he appeals to the Supreme Court. If you are lucky, 5 years. Now, 9 years has been spent determining a rent that expired over a month ago. It gets to a point where the landlord comes to beg the tenant, please just go. Don't worry about the rent away, please, I'm begging you, go. So there is no confidence in the system because the system itself is not skewed towards attaining justice that is quick and that is cheap. And therein lies the problem. How can we solve it? To me, the biggest solution to the problem is not even really systemic. It is the bar and the bench. Lawyers and judges alike must remember why we entered this profession in the first place. When you graduate from law school, they say you graduate in what? Character and learning. They didn't say learning and character. There's a reason why character comes before learning, because manners make it a man. So it is who you are as a person that determines how you apply this law. The law is there, but if the person comes to meet you as a lawyer, you look and say, look, your rent has expired. Look at the thing that has expired. Why do you want us to go to court? Can I not talk to your landlord? Let us please to give you 2 months to please pack your things and go. He goes to the landlord. Landlord talks to his own lawyer, who knows and look, okay, accept that 2 months because this thing could be 9 years if these guys go the other way. And you solve the problem. Everybody goes happy. So the case law backlogs you are seeing, that's part of the problem. And also, like I said earlier, because of the issue of technology, you find a lot of delays in admission of cases because of even the way matters are attended to. So from the bar, from the bench, we need to understand that we have a greater calling. I'll drop with small statistics for you. There's this report they call Justice Needs Satisfaction. They bring out a report every year. They brought out a report in 2023, a report in 2024. It's actually organized an association called HIIC, Hague Institute for Innovation of Law. Now, what they said was, from their own statistics that they did, quantitative statistics, they found out that 83% of Nigerians had a reason to seek redress in court. Of that 83%, only 52 sought mechanisms, not necessarily legal, but mechanisms to solve that problem. Of that 52, only 5% came to lawyers or went to court. The reason is simple. If you get justice faster, if you involve very dark man testify. I told Sheikh that the cases very dark man has solved in his 2, 4, 5 years of social media, without missing what is more than what I have solved in my 20 years in career. And that is not my fault. You would rather go to ordinary Ahmad, sit down before the camera, let them call Mr. XYZ, who is a banker that refused to vacate your house, put him on speaker and say, is that what you could do in UBA? So all UBA staff, you would like to stay in houses without paying rent. And because he's afraid that they will hear upstairs, please let me pack my things and go. Because if you go and file student of claim, the man is filing your people, he's challenging even your name on the seal is real one, without a O, it is real one, with an A. That seal is not your seal. You spend 1 month arguing, are you a lawyer or not? From somebody who knows well. I had a case where my colleague challenged my name because of the way it was arranged. And we know each other. I've led him in the matter before. So these are the challenges that we have. Because, so this attitude from the bar and the bench must stop. Because the sad, I'm so sorry, I mean, excuse me, I'm not so sorry. The sad narrative about it is that if you are not concerned about the people that are denying access to justice, remember that you are fast losing the means of livelihood. People will stop coming to you as a lawyer because I would rather go to lawyer.
It's similar to what we find in our society where, again, because of people's lack of trust in our justice system, they have to resort to going to social media. And that's why today a very dark man is extremely popular. I mean, what this guy is doing in this country, I only say may the Almighty reward him. And if there's anything he's doing that we are not aware of, because you only see what is apparent, you don't know what is hidden. But it also shows something that's very critical, and that was what was spoken about, the importance of character, right? Character, then knowledge. And this is actually something that applies even in religious terms, because as scholars, we learn about al-akhlaq qabla al-ilm. That is building your character before knowledge. Because the person with knowledge but without character is no different from the devil who was given a command but knew everything. But because of lack of character, he went sideways, right? So it's so important that we harp on that. And the best way we can push for such justice system to be reformed is to build on character, as has been said. When you know something is wrong, don't look at the money, don't look at it's very difficult not to look at it. So I'll not say don't look at the money. I'll say, look at the conscience of why you're doing what you're doing. Have your conscience critically to let you know that, look, can I sell myself when I know this is wrong and I'm still going to stand for it? It's something that we must try to avoid as much as we can. And don't think that in doing so you will become like Lai Wasabi. I don't know if you all know that guy on social media. Very funny lawyer. He never wins any cases. Always meets people that are a problem for him as clients than actually solutions. But I think it's something that we must all harp on and always have that conscience prick us to do what is right. Doing pro bono, very important. This is something that as lawyers, a number of you are involved in already. I mean, if you go to some of the prisons, and this was something we used to do, and we're still doing, especially with Al-Amada 8 now. People who didn't have access to as little as 10,000 naira, right, would be held without any access to, even they don't even understand why. They don't know why they were held, right? Go to Virginia prisons, they're there. Go to Sunita prisons, they're there. They're basically languishing in those prisons. Their family members don't know what is happening to them. And what was it? I was selling pure water on the road and I was picked up by AEP. That is the height of injustice. Someone stays for months, cases a year. And why? I was hawking pure water. Really? So these are things that we must call as many, and again it continues to spread wide, as many of us as we can that can come to advocate for such. Let us see how to help people in those conditions and situations.
Look to governmental resources. It's up to each and every one of us at an individual level to be able to support in the best way that we can. Right? Support this important work. And to your point, it starts with participating in platforms like this. And I really want to challenge every one of us to not just, don't keep it here. Take it beyond here. If the least you can do is approach this very fine gentleman and Real One and his group to say, how can I help? How can I support? How can I contribute? As a minimum, it's contributing at the pro bono level, right? Your legal services, right? The education that you have. Really, to me, it's really how we succeed in this area. Not only looking to the governments to come and save us, right, all the time. We have to be there for one another. So from a legal perspective, I think that's one point that I really want to stress. From a comparative viewpoint, I've seen several things done, right, in the US, where you might have groups and organizations might have what they call 1-800 numbers. So they are toll-free numbers that people, you don't have to have quote unquote credit to call that number, right, to seek aid or seek help. That way, you have a little bit more help as opposed to being in those communities and going to those rural areas. People are just aware of this number, call this number if you need help, right? And then someone somewhere in a remote location, maybe a butcher here, might be able to render high level, maybe advice, or at least point someone in the right direction. So that's one way that I've seen things done, especially when we talk about how we use technology to sort of revamp opportunities in this space. For the first question, which is the delays and case backlogs, as you all can imagine, that's one very hot topic that's probably caused us to break our 3-minute rule. In this area, I will keep it. I know these gentlemen, you've already talked about all of the same points, right, that anyone could make, and they're all very, very salient points. From a comparative standpoint, what I would share is that in the US, the approach to ensuring that there is swift and effective justice being administered at all times is that it's not done at one stage in the legal process, right? It's broken up into different stages in the legal process, starting with even the enactment of the laws, right? I have a friend who works as, his job title is this. His job title is the reviewer of statutes for one of the state's governments in the US. And that's precisely what he does. Not only does he support as kind of legal attaché to the legislative arm when they pass new laws, but him and his team and his department, they continuously review the laws to ensure that not only that they're current, right, but they are serving the people in the way that they're supposed to serve the people. Because when you enact laws and the way the law is enacted, it becomes burdensome, right, for you to go through the legal processes. Then it's a lose-lose situation from the get-go. So people, they take all of that into account and begin to streamline some of these legal processes for everyone.
So we actually created this roundtable discussion because of the lack of access to justice and legal aid for those that are downtrodden. So this idea was conceived about 2017 between myself and Sydney, who is a co-founder of Access to Legal Aid. So what informed the whole decision was that was the time we visited Kuje Prison in 2018, and we discovered that the people languishing there that are waiting trial are more than 500. So we now conceived the idea to register Access to Legal Aid initiative, for pro bono services. So we've not done anything significant since then, but we just felt this should come up, a policy conversation should come up, so that we'll be able to, give our quota, contribute our quota to the society. So that's just the basic idea of Access to Legal Aid.
Discussions were made as regards the barriers to accessing justice in Nigeria. The local perspective was taken, the Islamic perspective was also taken, and the international perspective was taken. The discussant really dissected the issues bordering the topic, the issues as regards technology, waste of time in court, people having knowledge of the legal system, and they also profile solutions to how they can also cut these barriers, they can also remove these barriers so that people can have access to justice. So, and it didn't just end there. The discussant also told us to ensure that we don't just do the talking alone, we also take it into action, take pro bono cases, see how on our own as a person we can build character so that we don't limit how cases are handled by wasting the time of the court, and we ensure that cases are handled with speed and ensure that justice is really meant to be seen.